just looks like such a badass. She owns this stage. Let's go, Jennifer.
I thought you were going to dance with me.
No, I'm not a dancer, but maybe at the goat after a few drinks of, me and Stephanie get a glass of wine in us. Yeah, you too? You down?
I'm there.
Hell yeah, that's what I like to hear. So I really just want to start. I want to get into it. I want to make sure that we maximize the most of our time together. You are living that corporate life, living for the weekend, as many of us are probably a bit familiar with, and you decide to just walk away from it all. Why did you decide to do that?
I went to yoga teacher training.
Oh, boy, here we go.
And it all goes back to source. We were doing the work of Byron Katie, and she's a pretty well-known spiritual leader. And she has a practice that basically requires you to ask a question back to you that you believe is true. And so my statement was, my career is my success. That's my definition of success. Is that true? And of course, it's just not true. Like, you cannot just say unequivocally, yes, this is truth. And literally, it was in that moment that I decided, I think I'm going to do something different.
Wow. And what did you want to go do?
Well, at the time, it seemed like yoga and the path of health and wellness was where I would go. And I actually, when I started yoga teacher training, it wasn't even to become a teacher. It was just to deepen my practice. I know. And but I just excelled at it, and I loved it. I loved the entire journey of yoga and well beyond the asana, as the yogis know. And I just at that point I was like, that's what I'm going to go do. And then I figured out that I had the ability to create it and make it be whatever I wanted it to be. So how about creating an integrated life, which is something I talk about all the time, which means I can cherry pick the things that I love the most and create something new out of that.
There's a lot of people in the world, perhaps in this room tonight, who are working the 9 to 5, living for the weekend, hate what they're doing, but they want the stability, they like the paycheck, they like the benefits, and they have that dream about something that they want to go do. It keeps them up at night, but they just can't get over the hump to go do it. They're scared of failing, they're scared of losing all of the creature comforts that they've grown accustomed to. Were you scared at all of those things? You were making a large salary. Was that hard to walk away from?
Yeah, absolutely. And I didn't do it like overnight. At that point, it took me a couple of years to make the leap. And of course, I found a million reasons why not to actually go do what I wanted to do. And, why don't I take this consultancy gig now and stay in corporate, but work for myself, and like all the little steps in between. But I think that there's like a misnomer out there, especially in the world of Instagram, especially if you're at all an entrepreneur or following the landscape of creating your own business, you start to get like just bombarded with these messages of, you need to leave your job, you need to do your own thing, like this is the path to success. I work 20 minutes a day and I make $600,000 in the first 3 months. It's probably not real for most people. And also, you do not have to leave your job to create something new. You could actually go create something new with someone else. You could start your own business and work in your job. So there's just I just feel like it's a whole bunch of untruths that we can unravel maybe another day in another conversation, but it does not have to be, I'm just going to quit my job today and live in fear and not know how to pay my bills. Mm-hmm. There are other ways to do it.
So LANEY Lu, perhaps your firstborn, if you want to call it that. You founded that in Exeter in 2015, right? Mm-hmm. Where does the LANEY Lu story begin?
Yeah, LANEY Lu started with a vision, and it wasn't my firstborn. I had a health and wellness company that was adventure-based, that I did everything to basically not lean into because it was scary as hell. And it was new. It was such a new concept, and I gotta say now, standing here in 2024, I do have a lot of personal regret for not having more courage to step fully into what I wanted to do. So now I'm going to do it a different way because I'm not that same person. But I was walking to a meeting for a gig that was supporting another person's business. And I looked through the window at what now is LANEY Lu Exeter and truly just had a vision. I saw it all right there. So when you walk in LANEY LU today or tomorrow, we're closed now, and you walk through the door, that is what I saw. And everything from the chalkboard to the people to the feeling to the smell to the everything. And that, I don't know, for me, that was such a special moment in my life that I haven't quite felt that same thing again, but I'm always in search of it. Yeah.
I should have clarified for anyone. Are we all LANEY LU fans here? Do we love LANEY LU? Okay. So, organic food or plant-based food, all very yummy, very healthy food. I was there this weekend. I ran into you. Very much enjoyed my grain bowl. The restaurant business, notoriously, is bad business to go in. We all have heard the cliche stats, something like 60% of restaurants fail and close their doors within the first 6 months. So what gave you the audacity to believe that you could be the one who didn't have any restaurateur experience to be like, you know what, I can buck this trend, I can do this?
I don't know. I'm very stubborn, I guess. But I also somewhat planned for failure, and I put in as little as I possibly could in the thoughts that it probably would fail. And, I always say, easily 7 out of every 10 people that I talked to prior to opening up said this is, the worst idea that they'd ever heard of. No one's going to pay $10 for a smoothie. Nobody wants salads. Nobody understands what a turmeric latte is because no one had ever heard of it before. What do you mean you're going to put coconut oil in coffee? So it's my favorite one is your team will steal from you.
Really?
They won't come to work. They'll steal your money. They won't do what you want. It's just going to be a massive headache. And I can't tell you. It's been the absolute opposite of that for me.
And so, what were those early days once LANEY LU was up and running in Exeter? What were those early days like?
They were so hard.
How so?
I was delusionally tired for most of it. It is new, and it took a lot of courage. And I think now looking back, I didn't know it at the time, but I truly believe that what really created the success for LANEY LU was that initial vision, having the clarity of knowing exactly how I wanted it to feel, and then trying to collect a team of people around me that had a similar understanding and vision for it. And then we developed a very strong language right away. And I think that's really critical in an organization. And we still, even today, had a conversation around, nope, those are not the words that we use around that. Let's be clear. Our word is this, So 3 words that you will hear at LANEY LU all the time is cherish the team. And it's really easy for me, if you come in 5 minutes late, to say, that's not how we cherish the team, Troy. And you're like, oh.
Don't have to worry
I
about
know
me.
exactly what she's trying to say to me.
What do you think a good leader is like? What qualities does a good leader have?
I would say active listening is probably the biggest thing. And it's one of the hardest skills for me, I have to say. And I'm not sure where that comes from. It probably goes way back into my childhood of not actually being involved in a family that would be super curious. Or have deep conversation. So for me, I've had to work and still work very hard every single day to slow down and look someone in the eye and say, how are you today? What do you need? How can I help you be successful?
So at LANEY LU, which, by the way, you opened a location in Portsmouth toward the end of last year, you have a lot of younger employees working on the front lines. I'm curious. My generation gets a bad rap for being the soft generation. We can't take criticism. Do you think that this is true, or do you think that you need to manage kind of today's kids differently than maybe you did 9 years ago when you started this whole thing?
I think that's a tough conversation to have, or a tough question to answer, because really there's so many dynamics involved. So you're not only dealing with the person that hopefully you're trying to give feedback and lead, you're dealing with your own stuff as well. And so that's for me what I've really learned in the last, decade of business ownership is I need to do as much work, if not more, on myself than on the person that's standing in front of me. They only know generally what they know, especially if I'm coming at them 20 plus years older than them. So I really do believe that my best work has really been on myself and understanding how I show up and where my areas are for improvement.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you said that because this podcast is labeled in the self-improvement category, and sometimes people say to me, Troy, like, it's so selfish of you to be just working on yourself so much. Give some of that energy toward us. And my response is, in order for you to get the best me, for me to show up for you, I need to show up for me first. It feels like you believe in that same principle.
I do, and I feel like, especially over the last 9 to 10 months, I have made it very clear to myself that my number one goal is to be unapologetically me. That is my biggest gift to myself. And if I can do the work around that, then I will be a better friend. I'll be a better business partner. I'll be a better leader, a better community contributor. And that's a hard one to sort of wrap your head around. But once you get there and you go, oh, wait, if I showed up with my most beautiful essence, fully open, I talk about this all the time, heart open, standing in my feet, like how better could I serve the world? I couldn't. And so that's one thing that I'm doing for myself. And then also realizing that I personally see incredible, unlimited potential in everyone in front of me. But not everyone in front of me sees it in themselves. So what my work is to not go, of course you can do that. Why are you not doing that? You have everything you need. I know that. They don't know that. So what now my work is as a leader is looking at the person in front of me and trying to assess where they're at in their journey and how much can I pressure them in the most beautiful way to be unapologetically them as well.
And how receptive are people to that? Because in my experience, I have my beliefs. I've been guilty of trying to change people before, and people don't like to be changed. So how do people receive that?
I think most people respond very well. And one of the things about creating effective teams is to just surround yourself with people that are receptive to those things. That's a fundamental piece of our culture. It's a fundamental piece of our core values. So if, I was just reading the book Traction, 3 things to think about when it comes to your team members. Do they get it, want it, and have the capacity for it? Get it, want it, or have the capacity for it. And it's such a simple landscape to assess your team around, because if they don't want it, you can't want it more than they do. You can't want it for them. And so I think at that point, to go back to your statement or question, it's like, what do you do at that point? You uninvite them to the table in a loving way to say, my place is not right for you, but there is a place out there where you will want to be.
I should have mentioned to everyone tonight that everyone here at every table has a LANEY LU coupon, courtesy of Jennifer, 10% off to when you go there tomorrow. Get the grain bowl, I strongly recommend. So thank you for supplying those.
Thank you.
You could have just stopped at LANEY LU, Jennifer. You were crushing it in Exeter, but then you decided to expand to Portsmouth, found Altitude, start Ginger Fox, start Palette. Why are you doing all these things? Why are you continuing to just build and build and build and put more on your plate?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm trying to figure that out. But no, I mean, I think that I learned pretty early on in the journey of LANEY LU that the brand had the ability to grow. And so I was excited to do that, but it took us nearly 9 years to do it.
Wow.
And a lot of people were kind of upset about that, like, what are you waiting for? And there's a fair amount of judgment around it. But it was what it was, and all those places. I didn't feel that same intuitive pull that I felt in Exeter. Ginger Fox kind of happened a little bit on a whim. I was actually invited to purchase Sweet Dreams, and it took me a long time to sort of get into the idea of it. And Altitude is a new sort of envelope for carrying these brands, but it's also like it's the next step in the evolution of my first business, Wild Adventurous Life. So captivating the themes of adventure and adventure as a mindset and how that can help us, make courageous decisions, maybe create a little bit more fun in our lives, see the challenges as being just a really good story. So yeah. And then so ultimately, what does it all boil down to? I think for me, it's about creating as much impact as I possibly can and be of as much in service as I can be.
You're an awesome follow on Instagram. I very much enjoy what you put out there. And you posted something a few weeks ago, something to the effect of like, at any given time, I have 837 ideas bouncing around in my head. That's something I can relate to. I have all these different things I want to do, books I want to write, podcasts I want to do, whatever. How do you manage that? How do you balance all these ambitions? Because I've found that I explore one thing, I go down it, and I end up, losing progress on another thing that I was working on, and I never actually get anything done because I've spread myself so thin working on these 19 different projects I all want.
Well, I think as you get wiser and older, or older and wiser, you maybe get a little bit better about picking and choosing what you want to get distracted by. And so I always laugh because Steph, my business partner and my partner in crime, she'll go, "I'm so proud of you, Jen," when I say, "I love that idea. I want to do that idea, but we're not going to." Because it'd be really easy. There's and also as a manifester, it's really easy to be like, we could do that, we could do that, we could do that, we could do that. We could do that, but we're really trying to be good at these things. We're really trying to develop stronger foundations in the things that we're already doing. But don't get me wrong, I am a little bit like a squirrel sometimes.
You also posted something earlier this month when it was your birthday, so happy belated birthday to you, Jennifer. You turned 47, and I hope you don't mind me saying that, but I don't think you will, because you said in this post that, hey, we should own our age. If you're 47 years old, that means you've accrued so much experience, you've learned so many lessons about what to do and what not to do, that this should be something we should wear with honor. This is not something, especially with women, as you get older, it's like, the society thinks, oh, like you're worthless, you're done contributing to society. Whereas you're out here saying, like, no, I actually have more to contribute than I ever have before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just getting started, I hope.
Hell
but
yeah.
I do believe that's very, very true. And especially as women, the messages that we're receiving on social can be really challenging. There is another movement out there. It's in the wings. So I would suggest sort of tapping into that so that feeds into your suggested feed. Because it's way more fun to see that stuff than maybe the things that make you feel less than. And that's not a fun place to be. We do have we have such a gift of all of this experience. And the more we can unleash that, as you know, I'm doing a big event on May 1st. We're going to talk about courage. That's the whole theme of the day, the entire day dedicated to talk about being more courageous, because it's really, really easy as we get older to want to sort of sink into ourselves. And granted, I love being by myself now more than I ever have. But at the same time, I know that I have a lot to give. And why would I ever let 47 make me feel like I can't do that anymore?
Amen. What does it mean to live an integrated life? You talk about this all the time. What does it mean to live it? And then how do you live it?
I don't think that we need to put ourselves into a box. So I don't need to have 8 to 5 Jen, and then 5 to 10 Jen, and 10 to 7 Jen. I don't need to create 3 versions of myself to be happy. I'm one person living one life This is my chance. And so why not design a life that is integrated with the things that you absolutely love? And if you're finding yourself, like I did, saying, I'm not contributing to society, or I'm really not, why am I working in plastics? What is that? I don't care about this. If I really feel like that and I really don't care about it, then the $300,000+ that I make, literally, it meant nothing to me. It meant nothing, which seems so privileged, and it is privileged. Why did it mean nothing to me? Because I wasn't doing anything that was moving me. So the paycheck came, the paycheck left. It just was, I'm like, it's energy in, energy out, but there's not a lot of energy coming back into me that's filling my cup back up. And I really think that can look at like so many different things. But if you love, let's just pick something. If you love to ski, there is no reason why skiing can't be your life. Right? You could sell skis, you could stand on the mountain and report about skiing, you could Instagram about skiing, you could write about it, you could photograph it. It could be everything to you if you wanted it to be.
I agree with that so much, and I feel like I do a good job of living an integrated life. Like, I work a lot, and I'm kind of never off, but I've also never dealt with burnout ever before. That's something that's very common among people. I love what I do so much, whether it's producing podcasts, hosting this podcast, writing, whatever, and I feel so purpose-driven that it never really feels like I'm working. Like, I'm waking up at 5:30 a.m. and I'm writing, I'm journaling something, and like before I go to bed at 10 p.m., I'm working on a podcast. And I just love it all so much. And I don't care. People will be like, Troy, like 9 to 5, close the laptop. Like, that's what you should be doing. That's a healthy work-life balance. And I'm like, screw work-life balance. It's all the same thing. My life is my work is my life. Like it's all the same thing. I feel like I'm doing it right, and I feel like you are too.
Yeah, 100%. And things ebb and flow. So sometimes I work more than I play. Sometimes I play more than I work. But I never think about whether or not I'm compromising a piece of myself to do something else, because it's all me.
Yeah. If there's someone here in this room tonight who wants to take the leap, but just cannot bring themselves to do it, what would you say to that person?
Talk to someone, maybe. Talk to someone. There's also some for me, like there's a ton of power in the art of adventuring. So, for instance, take yourself to the mountains, choose a trail, and go hike it. It's winter, be careful, please. But you get my point, right? So you just show up and you go, I'm going to hike this trail. And when you do that, you'll not only connect to something so much bigger than yourselves, the earth, but I promise you'll feel a sense of accomplishment that day where you'll go, oh, wow, if I can do that, maybe I can do this, and so on and so forth. So you don't necessarily have to be like, I'm going from here to here right away, right? It's like first maybe you leap over the puddle before you leap over the ocean.
What do you want your legacy to be?
Gosh. I think my goal every day is to leave as many people better than how I found them as possible.
I think that's a great mission. One of my favorite quotes is from Ralph Waldo Emerson, and it's, if you can just... God, I'm going to forget it on the spot. It was in my book, stupid Troy. It was something like, if you can only affect one person, then you have done a good job at living life. That should be your sole priority. If you can just focus on making one person's life better, then you've done your job as a human being.
Yeah, we talk about the power of connection. It's one of our core values at LANEY LU, and now for Altitude Companies, is that if you walked into LANEY LU, this used to happen all the time because LANEY LU Exeter is near the hospital. If you walked in and perhaps you had just literally left the bedside of someone that you adore, and you walk in and you have an awful experience at LANEY LU, that would be heartbreaking to me. But the number of people that would walk in and we would go, hi, how are you? What's going on? And you could just see something was up and you'd be like, you okay? And then, boom, they've now told you, I just left the hospital, my wife is really sick, our baby's sick, whatever. And then they go, you literally just changed the landscape of my day. And it could be something as simple as that, right? And so that's what we say is the power of making sure people feel valued and seen. The impact of that alone, when they leave feeling valued and seen, they're going to make sure someone else feels valued and seen. And then that person, and then that person, and then that person. So it's invaluable.
You're going to be back here in a few weeks for an event at the Music Hall Lounge, right? Can you tell us what to expect?
Yeah, Elevate 2024. You guys have cards on your tables, hopefully. It's going to be just an epic day, full day of connection, movement, a lot of movement. We need to move that stuck energy to get in our bodies, to reprogram ourselves for doing bigger, bolder things. We have a lineup of 6 super powerful speakers from the Seacoast to Boston and beyond. Actually, we have one of our keynotes coming in from Ireland. So it is going to be baller. I am so, so excited about it.
And where should they go for more information?
Altitudecompanies.com or Music Hall Lounge.
Okay, you heard it right there from Jennifer Desrosiers, the founder and CEO of every company on the Seacoast. Thank you so much for being here.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you.